All right, all right. Happy Friday, guys. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I have two special guests tonight. They are candidates running through the Green Party. Their names are Christina and Chibu. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you, Sabby. I'm a big fan. We both are.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. So first and foremost, I want to start off with your campaign. So both of you are running, and I think that it's important that we do have people running third party or running independent. In particular, we've been talking about this for a while, having candidates run in Congress, you know, not just for president. I think a lot of people are more familiar with the Green Party running for president. So I want to start with you, Christina. First and foremost, why did you decide to run for office? Who are you running against? And a little bit about your campaign.
So I decided to run for office, and it's a very complex history with me. So I'm a first generation Egyptian, and I grew up in foster care. I was emancipated at the age of 16, and I really had to hustle and push myself. And I worked 2 jobs. I was able to go to school, and it was a few wonderful people around me. They pushed me, they provided me support, and I didn't get my first safe environment until I was like 25, 26. And I wanted to give that back on a larger scale to everyone, because I wanted to bring a whole bunch of people to this side. And being trained under a whole bunch of people that have worked in Wall Street and DC, you're capable of doing that. And I'm also running against Menendez, and I'm not scared of Menendez. I'm not scared of Biden. I'm not scared of Netanyahu. I understand justice. I'm used to fighting oppression. And currently, with what we're focusing on in the campaign right now is collecting signatures to get on the ballot. I have until May 31st to collect 1,200 signatures. We have quite a few events today. I mean, not today, this weekend coming up. We're going to be all over New Jersey. So feel free to reach out through my website or GPNJ, and you could volunteer and join us.
Awesome. So I just want to remind everybody of Menendez and who that is. Remember, guys, he's the senator that actually him and his wife were just caught for corruption. I believe this is the second time he's been caught for corruption. So some people remember we covered that story a while back. So it's good to see somebody running against him.
Oh, yeah. And the reason, just to follow up quickly, the reason I chose the Green Party, if you look me up, I actually started as a progressive Democrat. And then it looked like they were going to support me. So I was going with it. And then they told me that they weren't going to support me or my progressive policies. And they had people lined up, and they were going to continue to support Menendez or one of their friends. And that meant corporate buyout people that aren't actually supporting the community or the individuals or the voters, but they're corporate donors. So it put me into a bad spot. And I'm very thankful that the Green Party of New Jersey opened the doors to me, because I wanted to continue to run on my principles. And Menendez, I'll actually be the only U.S. Senate candidate on the ballot in 2024 that does not support Biden or any, can I say the G word? Jenna? Yeah. Okay, genocidal candidate. Okay. I don't want us to get in trouble. Any genocidal candidate in office or running. I believe in holding people accountable.
Well said. And Chibu, I want to move over to you. You're in Illinois. Why did you decide to run? And I want to hear a little bit about your campaign. Also, who are you running against?
Yeah. So hi, everyone. My name is Chibu Sonye, and I live in central Charleston, Illinois. I am running for United States House of Representative for Illinois District 13, which encompasses Urbana, Champaign, Savoy, Decatur, Edwardsville, and Springfield. So it's along the lines, but it encompasses a lot of college towns, which is part of why I've decided to run, particularly for Congress. I live in, I always knew I was going to settle in central Illinois. And because they have a lot of college towns, I've seen people, and I work at university, I've seen people struggle with student loan debt. And one of the key things in my platform is actually pursuing student loan forgiveness, since the Supreme Court said that it's going to be Congress's job, and it's a promise that's been promised and dangled for a lot of my community. it will tangibly benefit Illinois and our community to get that relief. And most of us, or at least most of the people who have the student loan debt, aren't going to be able to pay for it anyway. And so I know that it helps students, it helps families, and it helps grandparents too, because everyone is in this higher education complex. The second and third thing is I want to bring back federal dollars into my municipalities and into my communities. A lot of our small towns are struggling to keep up with like not being under the poverty limit, but also working paycheck to paycheck and having multiple jobs. A majority of us are in a sector position, work in retail, or are connected with like a university. And so we all work for a wage, and we're all working class, and a lot of us don't make that much money. And it's been frustrating to see people in Congress who have healthcare, who have everything, who don't have student loans and have been promising these things to the generations above me. And so I decided that student loans, people deserve it. It's been asked for. I want to move money from the military directly into like education and infrastructure. I realized that I don't want to be battling between whether our fire department has a new roof or whether a school gets some new books. We have the money to pay for all of it. We can just pay for things here. And that was an issue that came up in my community recently during COVID, actually, whether we could get a new roof for the fire department or books for these students and more air conditioning. And so it was, I don't believe that we need to be battling each other. I learned from one, I've been listening, hopefully I'm not fangirling too much, but I have been listening to you for quite some time, as well as the other folks in RBN, Brianna Joy Gray, a lot of your other in your sector, and I listened to you. So I'm 27. This is the first time I'm really able to run for Congress, and hearing the complaints, hearing the frustrations of the people ahead of me and people older than me, I decided rather than pushing my energy and enthusiasm and encouragement into Democratic Party, I said, no, I'm going to find another home. And I did. I found one with the Green Party where they don't deride me. They don't ask me to just wait my turn. They don't ask me to just vote blue no matter who. They value the complexities and the value and like the values that I have. And so I'm doing the hard thing. My campaign, we need over 12,000 signatures. Physical signatures to get on the ballot. I'm super, super lucky. I have a great amount of volunteers. And so we're getting there, and we're really far ahead, which I'm happy about. And this upcoming weekend, our goal is to get over 3,000 signatures. So we're way above what we actually need. The goal is to get 15. And so I'm happy with, like, there's encouragement and there's excitement in my community for something different. A lot of Illinoisans don't vote. A lot of Illinoisans are upset with both parties. A lot of Illinoisans, if not all Illinoisans, know that neither party truly serves them. They serve Washington, D.C. So here I am, old enough to hear your lessons, old enough to see what the future can be, and make a tangible decision to do all the different things that you all have been begging people to do. So I'm doing the hard work, and I'm using the Green Party, and I'm showing my community just how like rigged this whole system is meant to be. And we already know it. So I'm proving it. It's a visceral thing right now. We can see it. And once I'm in office, we can fight for reform. The third thing on my agenda is election reform. People don't want to participate in politics. And I want my community to participate in policy making because it will materially benefit us, and it impacts us every single day, which they know. They just don't have that belief in the people anymore. So I'm doing something different, and I'm being a green.
Wow. I can tell you, it's so great to see young people, just flat out willing to run third party. It's very refreshing. I feel like it was just a couple years ago that a lot of the younger people were running through, as Christina mentioned, Justice Democrats. It's nice to see this shift. I think it's definitely needed. Chibu, remind me, who are you running against?
Yes, thank you. The current incumbent is Nikki Baczynski, and she's a Democrat, a very corporate, moderate to the right Democrat, and she has not been focused on our community and what we're actually asking for and advocating for.
I'm glad that you mentioned, I'm sure, and both of you have a similar story with this in reference to working class. I'm glad that you mentioned that, you know, just because like obviously you went to college as well. I think there's a lot of misconception. People assume that because someone went to college that they're not a part of the working class. That's definitely not the case, especially today, especially for those of us that have student loan debt. And when we look at wages as well, I think that's another thing people don't realize. I want to focus on that for a second, wages. When it comes to wages, I mean, we saw, you know, Congress $15 minimum wage actually passed in the House. But when it came to the Senate, it did not pass. And it didn't pass just because of Republicans, as much as Democrats will tell you that. There were also Democrats that voted against the $15 minimum wage. And this is it's crazy. It's 2024. We still don't even have a $15 federal minimum wage in this country, which is pretty insane if you think about it. Both of you are part of the young generation. What are some of the things that you're concerned about when you look at wages today and you think about your future? I'm going to go to Christina.
Some of the things that I'm concerned about when it comes to wages, just because I've struggled with homelessness as a teenager, a young adult, is being able to afford housing. And right now when I'm outside just collecting signature, and that's just my top priority. I'm meeting families with kids that are homeless and they're signing my petition, and like we go and we advocate and we'll speak with the politicians, and the politicians just it's just a glaze in their face. They just don't care, and they get to go home and sleep at night. And we have so many resources that have had fundings cut in 2020 from 2024, that have been recently cut, and I can't even redirect people because as a social worker. So what I do within my community is I'm able to like make phone calls, connect people, resources. If you need first and last month, it used to be easier. Now it's impossible. And I have a network of other people within the community that I have to call. And a lot of us keep hitting dead ends. And I may have my degree, but I have a lot of student debt because, again, I didn't come from a privileged background. I had to take out loans. And for me, I knew education was the key to freedom and stability. But I have the student loan debt, and I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Sorry, I'm like really excited. I'm just really happy to be with you.
It's okay. I was just going to add that I think this is really important for people to hear because, again, just because someone has a degree doesn't mean that they didn't come from a working class family. It doesn't mean that they're not working class. This is it's a common misconception. People think that because you went to college, that means that you're well off financially, and that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, yeah. I work a full-time and I work a part-time while running this campaign. So I run on maybe like 4 or 5 hours of sleep sometimes. If I'm lucky, I could get 6 hours of sleep. And I really depend on my team and the volunteers to really help me because I have the solutions and I have the fight because I'm used to challenging people in the courtrooms. I'm used to challenging people in positions of power. So me challenging people isn't something that I'm scared of. And I've been able to help clients and community members. So I just want to be able to bring my skill set on a larger scale and really give back and bring more people on this side. It's very exhausting when you get these phone calls and you have people that are in dire need of any services and you're just like, I'm at a dead end myself. And universal healthcare is another top priority along with affordable housing because we still have people, and a lot of people have a misconception where if you have commercial insurance or you're paying for commercial insurance, you have great coverage. That's not true. You have, for someone going to rehab, for example, or a mental health facility, even if they're paying for health insurance, you can still wind up being told you have to pay $8,000 out of pocket, take out a second loan on your house, and go into even further debt just because you're having a crisis or you're in a bad moment in life, and people shouldn't be punished for having that.
That's right. Chibu, when you think about wages currently in this country, what are some of the things that you're worried about when you think about the future?
One of the things I'm worried about, there's like two. Something that's come up a lot in my community is Social Security and what that can look like for my generation, or more so. There's a carrot being dangled by some of the like Gen Xers who are saying, so anyone who's worked a day in their life gets to have Social Security, but anyone who hasn't worked from like X day onward is just, it's up to them what they're going to do. And it's frustrating for me because in Illinois, actually a lot of people are on Social Security, on fixed income, but also in Illinois, it's very much promised that we are paying into pension, paying into pension, paying into pension. And so I feel as though for wages, Social Security, me and my friends and my counterparts are thinking about that and thinking how there is something that was promised us is no longer is trying to be taken away. It's still there, but it's trying to take it away. The second thing is I don't feel like my wages go very far, which is part of why retirement seems impossible. and part of why we're upset about Social Security being away. So those two come together. I got a raise that was supposed to be like adjusted with inflation, as well as like my own, work ethic. And that was super great, except for the fact that that meant that my taxes actually did increase. Things are done by rates a lot in Illinois. And so if you get $15 more, $10 more, $100 more a month, that means that your rates are increasing. And so it feels like my raise was non-existent. And also my money doesn't go very far. I'm pretty frugal. So I'm like that. I'm the person that they want kids to be like. So I save money. I don't eat out too much and I don't splurge. So all those like petty things. But groceries are more expensive now. Like eggs are $3 now. I'm in Illinois. I'm in farm country. So things are like a head of broccoli will be $5. And that's the non-organic version of it, and so we have smaller markets, we have farmers markets, which I go to in church patronage, but they also have to like keep up with things. So it feels as though no matter what I do, even if I were to get a raise or to move jobs to get higher amount of money, even in central Illinois, my dollar's just not going that far. And it's, yeah.
It's a big problem for, I think, most of us. And you're right about the groceries. I continue to see that price increase. I want to pivot a little bit to foreign policy. So as both of you know, I think one of the biggest foreign policy issues right now is Israel and Gaza. And we've seen the way that whether they're Democrats or Republicans have voted for legislation to give more money to Israel. Both parties support the state of Israel, right? Like regardless, this isn't a Republican thing or Democrat thing. We've also seen squad members support funding for Ukraine, whereas they may have voted differently this time around for Israel funding. When it came to Ukraine, that was not the case. If you were in Congress, how would you vote on foreign policy legislation in reference to giving billions of US dollars to other countries? Where do you stand on that particular issue?
If I may go first, militarism is actually a very big part of my agenda. I want to directly take funds away from our military and put it directly to education, into infrastructure, so that way the students in my community don't have to deal with student lunch debt, and that they're actually able to pay for their books and have their library. So that's an issue in my community. When it comes to like foreign policy and militarism, I would like the United States to obviously to acquiesce and to leave the countries and to lower bases, but also. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. We'll go to Christina. We'll come back.
Well, I'll continue from Shibu because we actually spoke prior. Yes, we're working on international policies together now. So we want to remove the military bases from other countries, and we want to bring our troops home. We don't need to be the world power. We want to be able to be friends with everyone. We don't need to destroy other countries and places like Congo and Palestine and Sudan and Afghanistan. We want to be able to utilize the funds to provide international reparations and fix what we have destroyed. So when it comes to like Gaza and Palestine, to help assisting with their own independent infrastructure, and we could do that federally, create federal jobs with a livable wage, and this will not raise taxes. And then this will also boost our economy because we're going to be developing, the houses, the pipes, bringing the education over there and really helping them to be their own independent country and running.
Yes.
All right, that sounds good. Chibu?
Yes, I wanted to add, how would we get it done? Through single bills, something that I do applaud the Freedom Caucus for, which is not a lot, I want to say, but the small parts that I do appreciate that they did to flex their power was to initially get solo bills. I don't want to be doing packages anymore. It has to be single from the House to the Senate, because that way we're actually being told how much we're spending. Like, it's not one or the other. It's not all of it or nothing. It's yes or no. They clearly did that when it comes to student loan forgiveness. They clearly did it when it comes to Medicare for all. They could have did it for every other thing. We have to do it for the military as well. Also, I don't think that we should give a cent more to the military until they pass their audit, which they have not done. Which they have not done. Imagine if the Board of Education didn't pass an audit, or they spent more money, they would get eviscerated in the news, and they would get torn to shreds. But somehow we can give a failing military and not completing wars properly and degrading military more and more money on top of what we already give them. They've already asked for a certain amount of money, and then Congress gives them more. In Illinois, we love our veterans. We love the people who fight for us. Like, we are all about that. Yes, sirree. At the same time, the military, as we see it right now, is not taking care of veterans. They're not taking care of our soldiers and sailors, and they're not protecting the world. You know, we're not actually safer. So until they can pass an audit every single unit, because they're competent people who have many dollars to their name. So I believe that they're capable of passing their audit, and it would be Congress's job to ensure that actually happens. So single bills, and until the Pentagon is audited properly, and they can just tell us where their things are, because that's the thing. That's what the audits are. It's, do you know what you spent money on and where they're currently located and how you use them? And their answer is no.
Right. Okay, I want to also ask a little bit more in reference to Gaza. Where do both of you stand on that particular issue? Do you feel that President Biden should call for a ceasefire? And what do you feel should happen in reference to Israel and Gaza going forward? Let's go back to Christina.
So Joe Biden should be held accountable for his part in these war crimes. Same as every person in office currently that has voted and actually enabled these war crimes to exist. Joe Biden does have the power to stop funding completely, and not just, put out a tabloid and saying, oh, we're no longer sending weapons over or funding it. No, actually, stopping it completely, and cutting off all funding and any ships going out. And I support, so on my website, I do have I did have my viewpoints, but after speaking with people and learning more, I believe when it comes to the decision, and this is just my personal opinion, Chibu might have a different one, when it comes to the decision of whether it's a 1 or 2 state solution, I feel like the Palestinians, as well as the victims under Netanyahu, because we do have protesters in Israel, we do have the youths going to jail, we do have rabbis getting beaten, and letting them, the victims of the U.S. and Israel oppression, discussing with each other on what they want to do, because the U.S. has already dictated so much about what's going on and what's happening, that I think that kind of conversation we could facilitate, but they should be able to have that conversation. The U.S. can just respect their decision instead of telling them what to do.
All right, Chibu.
Yeah. One, Joe Biden, it has not been following what Illinois wants and what his base actually is asking for. So yes, he needs to have called for ceasefire over 200 days ago.
Yes.
When we need humanitarian aid, we currently are sending small amounts of humanitarian aid in the larger bills that are funding the continued genocide of Palestinian people and the American hostages. I want to take a moment for the hostages. So in Illinois, in particular, there have been over 5 hostages that have been related, and if we explanate that to the all 120, it could be up to 11 or 12 or 13. people who are connected to Illinois, who are Americans in Gaza, and we don't know what their what their status is. And during a ceasefire, we got the most amount of hostages. We saw that, and it's been absolutely heartbreaking to see our president say, like, let these Illinois lives be gone, so that way they can just continue to give bombs to Israel for their own, I think, monetary reasons. We need humanitarian aid. There's currently a pier being that's now operated, and those are all waste of money. If we flexed our power as United States Congress, as the federal government, we could demand and force the hand of the Israelis, the Israeli government, so that way we are getting aid and it's being protected. There are international laws and there are United States laws. We have to, no one is above the law. That's the idea, right? The idea is we're all equal. We're all equal. We're supposed to be, no one's above the law. And so we have to put our foot forward and ensure that that is actually happening. The idea of the day after, the way to get the day after is not only with a ceasefire, but also with like truth coming out. So the journalists that are happening, sharing people's stories, sharing their testaments of what happened, ensuring that we get an account of all of the atrocities so that justice can actually come about. And then we'll have peace in some way, shape, or form, restorative justice. And like Christina said, the United States is implicit in the larger war crimes that are happening, that we're seeing day to day. And the United States will have to take some aspect and some accountability, which is fine. And I'd rather spend I'd rather spend our money domestically, but I'd rather spend it in supporting the Palestinians than creating their downfall. It's also important for me to say that, like, what's going on in the West Bank is also a part of the war on Gaza. Yes. The settlements are illegal according to, like, United States law and current international law, which we abide by. Again, we need to hold ourselves accountable. So if these laws are being broken, then we have to hold the people accountable that are complicit in letting it happen. So war crimes that will be tried and that will come forth in the future, we need to have a Congress that's willing to make the hard decisions and make the tough decisions, because again, no one is above the law. We have to prove that.
That's right. That's right. Well said there. I'll make sure I show your websites as well. Christina's website here says Christina Khalil for U.S. Senate, healing the New Jersey of today and tomorrow. Again, running as a green, and Eric can put the links to these in the chat as well. And also Chibu's website here as well. Chibu for Congress, running in Central Illinois. Awesome. Again, it really warms my heart to see young people like getting involved in electoral politics through a third party, and not through the Democratic Party and not through the Republican Party. It really warms my heart to see this. I'd love to have both of you back on another time as well, but thank you so much for your time.